And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the always pressing PGA DFS podcast. Special edition tonight, going to preview the 2019 PGA Tour season. In order to do so, I'll be joined by my co-host, as always. You can find him on Twitter at DFS Golf Guys. Jesse, how are we doing tonight?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. And a special guest joining us from GolfNewsNet.com. You can find him on Twitter at Ryan Ballengee. Ryan, how are we doing tonight? Ryan? Did we lose Ryan? Jesse?
Yeah, I don't. Looks like he's frozen, man.
Okay, we'll wait a second for him. It's no big deal. This is what editing's for. So much fun.
Maybe.
Might just have to drop out and drop back in here real quick. Ryan? Interesting. He's back. He's back. All right. Let's restart this bad boy.
I should have known better than to trust my cell phone.
Good,
no problem. We'll restart it right now. We're ready to rock and roll. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the always pressing PGA DFS podcast. This week, we will be doing a special edition recapping and previewing the 2019 PGA Tour season. In order to do so, I'll be joined by my co-host, as always. You can find him on Twitter at DFS Golf Guys. Jesse, how we doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
Not too bad, not too bad. And a special guest for us, you can find him at GolfNewsNet.com. He's on Twitter at Ryan Ballengee. Ryan, how we doing, man?
Well, good. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. Before we get too into this and start previewing stuff, let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on, GolfNewsNet.com, everything about you. Let them know.
Yeah, sure. So you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Ballengee, RyanBallengee. And then over at Golf News Net, we do weekly previews for fantasy golf, kind of general top 10 for more novice gamers. And then with our GNM Plus subscription, we do a top 10 of sorts for DraftKings, but also some more in-depth analysis and tools for just about $10 a year. And then we have a more in-depth analysis for $75 a year. So always happy to talk about fantasy golf and always happy to come on and chat about the new year.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. It's like, we're previewing 2019, and technically for real golf fans, it's already started because of the fall swing. But, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the best years, I think, for golf in a long time. We had a really good last couple of years. I just think this is going to be a special one with all of the changes that are coming about, with all of the major championship venues that we have. They're going to be all spectacular. There's no duds. It should be a special year.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, it started with, I really think, this fall swing where we had some surprises, but also some guys who kind of came back. What are your kind of major, what are your thoughts on as far as how the fall swing went, like surprises, standouts? Just kind of give us some thoughts on that, because Bubba and I talk all the time about this, and everybody who listens to this regularly knows how we feel about it. Go ahead.
I would say the biggest surprise to me had to have been Matt Kuchar, right? I mean, he had a horrendous calendar 2018 up to that point, at least by his standard. I mean, for 5 or 6 years ago, he was a guy you'd expect to basically top 10, top 15 every start. And he kind of slipped out of that. And I think he was starting to believe, and he kind of said this after he won at Mayakoba, that his game was no longer compatible with winning on the PGA Tour. And that turned out not to be the case. And I'm not going to say Matt Kuchar is going to all of a sudden, win his major in 2019 or what have you, but it was kind of cool to see a guy getting toward that back end of his career that can still get it done and can still be effective. And again, I don't expect him to become the guy he once was, but sometimes he could still be the Matt Kuchar that had some pretty big scalps in his career, even if he didn't win a major. So that was my big surprise. But I think other than that, it was really spectacular to see Cam Champ win out the gate. I mean, it did not take him long to figure out how to make this style of golf work for him. And it's different going from the web.com to the PGA Tour. You guys know that. I mean, the scoring is different. The setup everything is different. It's just easier on the web.com tour for a guy like Cameron Champ. And some guys can't make that transition to the PGA Tour where the setups are more difficult, the fields are deeper. And basically, I figured out that if he can just putt 6 weeks a year, he'll probably win 3 times. And then if he can figure out a more consistent short game and a more consistent accuracy with the driver, he could win major championships pretty quickly. So I would say those are my kind of 2 big takeaways from the fall, guys-wise.
Yeah, we love what Cam Champ did. He showed he wasn't just a bomber. He can actually play really good golf. And then, Chucky Three Sticks also picking up a W was outstanding this fall swing. Let's get into 2019. We got some new rule changes coming in, and there's a ton of them, and we're not going to go over all of them by any means. And I don't know about you, but just real quick question. It seems like much more of these benefit the regular golfers such as us more so than the pros. Is that kind of what you pick up when you're looking at these?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you think about like putting with the flag stick in, that's more trying to save time than anything. I don't care what Bryson DeChambeau wants to tell you. Being able to ground your club in a hazard, that's a big deal for the amateur golfer. Being able to take your ball out of a sand trap or bunker, depending on what you want to call it, and take the 2-stroke penalty. I mean, these are things that you couldn't do for the history of the game, and all of a sudden you're going to be able to have some really friendly things going on in your favor, not to mention all the stuff with ball marking and replacing the ball. But there are some rule changes that I don't think will help golfers across the broad spectrum. I mean, like what happened with John Senden down in Australia, where his club broke in the middle of his swing. Under the current rules of golf, he was able to replace that club during the round because it happened during the course of play. But under the new rules in 2019, his only path forward to keep that driver in his bag is to literally repair the club. So he would have to get some epoxy and glue and a new shaft or a new grip and put it all back together and somehow make that work for the rest of the round. So that would be penalizing in that regard. So there's some good, there's mostly good, a little bit of bad, but I think by and large, yeah, you're absolutely right. These rules changes are meant for the normal person, not a professional golfer.
Go ahead. You go ahead, Bubba.
I just want to take it on a side note real quick. We'll go back to the rules. You mentioned the equipment malfunctions. Okay, if you've been living under a rock and you're a golf fan, this is news. Cody Blick got his club stolen before the last round of Q School. Goes out and shoots a 63 with a bunch of different clubs thrown from all over the golf course. Because I know you play a lot of golf, so that's why I just want to bring this up. What's kind of your craziest equipment malfunction you've ever had?
I've been really fortunate. I've never really had one in the middle of a round that I can think of that would have caused me to either put a club away or not be able to use it at all. 2 things come to mind. So, and this one's neither happened to me, but the best one was probably I was in Las Vegas. This is probably about 12 years ago, and I was playing golf. It was a 106-degree day. I was in there in the middle of July. I had a tee time at Bally High on the Strip, and they paired me up with the only other guy that was dumb enough to be on the course. And it's this real estate guy from Philly. He was worth like $20 million, and we're talking, and we're the only ones playing. And literally on every hole, the staff are coming out to bring us ice and towels and just anything we wanted. They were just grateful to have someone there. And on one hole, he was using a rental set. He hit a 4-iron, and I swear to God, he swung the 4-iron, and the epoxy was melting because it was so hot. The head flew off the 4-iron as soon as he hit the ball, and the 4-iron went about 50 yards, the ball went about 10. And we both just looked at each other and just laughed because, I mean, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
But that was my favorite legitimate malfunction of all time. I mean, there have been illegitimate, irreparable ones from breaking clubs, but at least that was a real malfunction under the rules of golf.
Yeah, dude, with that, like I was trying to think because I sent that story to Bubba last night and we were kind of talking about it or whatever, and I was trying to like compare that to like another sport where obviously if you lost your equipment like that it would affect you, and I just can't think of anything else that it would affect you so much, especially with him. He said he only had 2 wedges, a 4-iron and a 3-iron to warm up with, and he goes out there with a brand new set of clubs. But that, to me, it also proves how insane like golf can get inside your head. So you're out there on the golf course and he's thinking, he said this in his interview too, that he was thinking about like, well, if I hit a bad shot, it's because, you know, I've got different equipment. I'm not used to it. And it kind of relieves some of that pressure that you have on you. He goes out and shoots 63 with a brand new set of golf clubs. I mean, like, I don't know. It just blows my mind still. Getting back to the rules of golf though, I think a lot of these are good. I play with a lot of bad golfers. I don't know if you do or not, Ryan, but I play with a lot of bad golfers, and we play by these rules a lot anyways, because I'm not trying to make my buddies go back to the tee and re-tee it after they just hit one out of bounds. You know what I mean? Like, just go up here and drop one out. Let's go. Let's move it along. We got people behind us trying to keep up the pace of play. So I think for the most part, like you said, they're going to be beneficial for especially amateur golfers. I think a lot of people are already playing like this, but it is what it is. Whatever. With the obviously with the new year, we have a new schedule for golf. I'm sure you've checked it out. Do you have any highlights, lowlights, any things you like, dislike about the new schedule coming out for this year?
I think it'll be really interesting that they basically move the crunch time part of the year where you play like 7 times in 10 weeks or 8 times in 10 weeks, depending on how, if you're a higher ranked player. They move that from July and August and into September into kind of March, April, and May, because you're going to play in Florida. You're going to play, if you're a higher ranked player, you're going to play the 2 WGCs. So you're going to play Mexico. You're going to play the match play probably. You're going to play the Masters. You're going to play the Players. You're going to play the PGA. You're probably going to play Quail Hollow because that's big money. Yeah. So in that stretch, you're going to play a lot of golf. And so guys could get tired sooner if they don't space it out pretty well. It's going to be really interesting to me to see how guys like Tiger and Bryson and Ricky and Jordan, guys who are range from, kind of Brooks kind of guy who's not going to play that much anyway, or Tiger in that category, to a guy who might play 26, 27 times voluntarily, how they're going to figure out their schedules and make it all work so they have a good rhythm, but they don't miss out on the big tournaments and that free money and free points they get as by being a top player.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. How do you feel about the PGA Championship? I think one of the great moves was moving the PGA Championship to May, because now you've got the Masters in April, PGA Championship in May, June U.S. Open, July Open Championship, and then finish it out there with the FedEx Cup. What are your thoughts on the as far as that schedule for the majors and kind of the big part of golf?
I think that was the right choice. I love the Players Championship in May. It made the tournament seem more important, but TPC Sawgrass is a better golf course in March. It's by far a better golf course in March. There's more wind. It's better in that time of year. And now it gets to be the precursor to the Masters. So that's a good golf tournament to kind of kick off the year. You get into the Masters, like you said, obviously the best golf tournament in the world. And then you get into May, you can't you used to say this about the PGA was you can't win all 4 if you don't win the last one. Well, now you can't win all 4 if you don't win the second one. And by the virtue of that, the PGA, since the Players moved from March to May originally, it's gone to much better venues. It's better run. It's a higher prestige tournament than it was in the 90s and 80s. And so they did the right thing. They've elevated the tournament. Now they can go to more places. They can go in Texas. They can go in Oklahoma. They could go to Arizona or Florida. I know they've booked this thing out to like 2031 at least at this point. But once you get into the 2030s and 40s, when we might start thinking about being dead, they can have these things in different parts of the country where they couldn't before. And I think that's the best part about this, is that parts of the world where they never thought they were going to get a major, now they might. And I think that's great.
I agree. I'd love to see some, and I know Bubba would too. He's a West Coast guy. I would love to see some more majors on the West Coast. Yep.
Let's talk about those majors. We will get to one West Coast one, which I am very happy to be attending later this year. But let's get to the Masters. It's April 11th to the 14th. Like you said, it kind of kicks off major season. We'll get 4 months in a row of major action. The Masters there's not much to say if you're a golf fan. You know what the Masters is. It's amazing. It pops the brightest green color on your television you've ever seen. It's everything you can think of. It's the only time you can literally hear birds in your head and it doesn't bug you. It's a lot of fun. It's amazing golf. And last year, Patrick Reed, goes out there, and I'm not shocked the world isn't probably the right term, but he shocked a lot of people.
It's close.
And he got it done. Like he's a good golfer. He's got his problems with a lot of people. I get it, but he's a good golfer. And he went out there and he got it done. But prior to that, Sergio did his thing. Danny Willett, Jordan Spieth, Bubba Watson. That's your recent winners. So good golfers. Not necessarily Murderers Row. You're not getting the DJs and the Brooks of the world, the big boys. These are golfers. What do you have in mind this year for the Masters as we kind of saw how the season ended with a lot of newer names kind of keep peeking up the ladder?
That's a good point. We have those last 5 Masters champions, look at him go, okay, kind of one hit. I mean, Spieth is the non-one hit wonder, right?
But is he now? Like almost.
And he's getting kind of close into that one. I mean, he's going to be the one hit 3-time major winner, maybe.
Exactly.
I don't know how you feel about Jordan Spieth, but I think it's like
we don't mind him. We're just kind of like, what happened to him?
He's here for his career. I mean, he's either going to figure it out and become the guy who wins 5, 6, 7 majors, or he's going to be the guy who won 3 and never is doing better than that.
Yeah.
And then kind of beyond that, you got Tiger, who could win. I mean, he could legitimately win a major or 2 next year, and it wouldn't have shocked me that much now that he's won. And you've got Bryson DeChambeau, who was convinced when he turned pro would be an absolute dud, is what, 5-time PGA Tour winner, which is amazing. He's got to be a legitimate threat to win. Brooks Koepka missed this tournament last year because of his injury, his hand injury, but he has improved in every single Masters start he has made. So the only trajectory for him in majors really has been up toward the top. He could figure it out. I love Cameron Smith for some reason. I loved him last year, and he did well. And I think he's the kind of guy who is just 1 or 2 small tweaks to his game away from being a major champion. And he seems to really like Augusta. Most Aussies do for whatever reason. But, I mean, they seem to love that golf course. And then you've got all your kind of regular cast of characters that having an invitational tournament with really only 40 legitimate players who can win produces. So you have to look out for Dustin Johnson. You have to look out for JT. You have to look out for Rory if he decides he wants to learn how to putt again and not play himself out of a major final round on the 2nd or 3rd hole. I mean, I have a feeling this is going to be a really great Masters, but as you guys pointed out earlier, we haven't had the best kind of crop of champions in the Masters the last 5 years. So maybe we get another strange winner and kick off the major season in another odd way.
Yeah, Jesse, who do you have taking down the Masters?
I'd narrowed it down to 2. This is the only one I have 2 for, and it's Finau or Bubba. I think it sets up well for Finau. I mean, obviously, almost broke his ankle last year in top 10s. I think, yeah. I mean, it's I think it's a big year for Finau. So, and then Bubba is he's just course history guy. So, yeah. So that's who I have. Who do you got, Ryan?
Finau
pick right now.
Finau is such a great choice. I mean, he's just a top. He is what Kuchar was 6 years ago. It's just a top 10 machine. It's unbelievable what he's doing. I'm gonna go say Tiger. I'm gonna say based on course history and form. My question mark about Tiger moving forward is when will he get fatigued? When does he get worn down? Well, I know he probably won't be worn down by May, so I would think he has the best chances to win the Masters and the PGA Championship in those coming years. So I love Tiger going into the Masters.
Have you ever been, Ryan?
Twice, 3 times.
Really? I'm trying to get Bubba out there.
Oh, it's Disneyland, man. It's Disneyland.
Yeah, that's what I hear from everybody. It's pretty amazing. That's good. Yeah. Every time I get that email back, sorry, you were not chosen this year to spin the Masters. It's just like, God, rip it out right now. My winner for the Masters is kind of in your vein of the Aussies. I got Mark Leishman. This is a guy that absolutely loves this course. I know he's very inconsistent, it seems like, but when he has a course that fits him, that he likes, I've heard many interviews with his caddy. Like, he literally lives for courses like Augusta, which most golfers probably should. But I like Leishman to win this one. I think he's come close many times. I think he actually finishes it this time. So I got Leishman on this one.
I like it. He led the first 2 rounds last year, right?
Yeah, he just can't finish. I think he's finishing now.
Yeah, he just needs that one little extra push, that one right day that works for him. And he doesn't need people to fall apart. He just needs kind of people to move sideways. And that didn't happen last year's Masters. I mean, you had Spieth coming, guns blazing to the finish. Reed didn't back down. Rory was in there, but then kind of fell apart pretty quick. But he needs kind of people to move sideways so he can move up one day. Kind of like what Ricky Fowler needs to win a major.
I'm with you. The next major, like we've already talked about, is the PGA Championship. This year we played at Bethpage Black, which is in New York. They've held the U.S. Open there twice. 2002, Tiger Woods was a champion. He shot 3 under par. 2009, Lucas Glover was the champion. He shot 4 under par. I would imagine that they'll lengthen it out. I mean, it played about 7,400, a little over 7,400 yards in 2009, but it seems like every time that a major goes somewhere, it gets longer and longer and longer. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think they will lengthen it up? How tough do you think it'll play, Ryan?
I think they'll probably keep it in that 74, 75 range. I mean, Bethpage is just damn tough as it is. I mean, they don't really need to do anything to it to make it any more difficult. If you think about the PGA, their mantra is, all right, well, we want the winner to be 10, 12, 14, 16 under par, like a PGA Tour event that's just prettier on a tougher course. But the last time the PGA Tour was at Bethpage, what was the winning score? Like 8 under, 9 under for the week?
9 under. Yep, 9 under.
So it wasn't that deep for a regular PGA Tour setup. So if you think about that, that's going to be a different PGA Championship anyway than you would normally expect. You're going to get scoring probably in the single digits that wins. And then you got to look at the fact that it's going to be in May. We don't know what the temperatures are going to be. It could be 55 degrees on Sunday afternoon on Long Island. It could be 75 degrees. I mean, I think the weather will become more of a factor this tournament than it ever was at any other time, in August. I mean, the heat kind of picks golfers up. The ball goes farther, kind of easier to do everything you want to do with the golf ball when it's hot. When it's cold, a little different story. So I think the weather is going to be just as important to this tournament as it's ever been. I think that kind of maybe narrows down the number of potential winners a little bit, the guys who feel comfortable playing in all conditions, not just sunny and nice.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bubba, who you got any thoughts on the PGA Championship and or a winner?
I'll keep it short and sweet. He did it this year at the U.S. Open. I got Brooks big game hunting back-to-back at the PGA this year. He's a guy that he fits, of course, like Bethpage, no matter the conditions. I do not care about that at all. So give me Brooks. I think he takes it down, and the big game hunter story continues with Brooks Koepka.
Love it.
Ryan, you got a winner?
I think Brooks is a great pick. I mean, he's a bomber. He handles it. He's just absolutely cold-blooded when he gets in that situation, and he likes tough golf courses. And he's the perfect guy.
So I originally had Rose here. I think Rose has a big year this year. I mean, I either got him winning this one or the U.S. Open, but I did change it to DeChambeau. If it's going to be that difficult, I'm not sure Bryson mentally can hang in, but we'll see. And so my pick at this point is Bryson.
I like it. Let's go to the U.S. Open in my backyard, Pebble Beach, California. Well, about an hour and a half from my backyard. But it's going to be a blast going there this year. I usually go for the Pro-Am, but now I get to see they've already started renovating it right after the Pro-Am last year to get it, quote-unquote, tougher for the U.S. Open. We all know the story with Pebble is it's going to be easy no matter what you do with it if it's not windy because it's just not long enough. If you keep it in the fairway, it's a pretty attackable golf course. They did redo some of the greens, but if the wind's not bad, it should be interesting. Being in the middle of the year in June, weather's pretty nice there in the Monterey area in June. But we have seen it be a little rough at times. In 2010, Graham McDowell won it with a score of even par. So that tells you the conditions right out the gate. And then, Tiger absolutely destroyed the field in 2002. This will be the 6th time it is at Pebble Beach, and it's going to be amazing. An awesome field. And what do you got on this one, Ryan?
I think if you could look back at the last few U.S. Opens and take Tiger's 15-stroke win out of it, just look at who finished second. So that was Ernie Els. So let's look at the winners of the winner and second place the last several U.S. Opens at Pebble. You got Graham McDowell was a one-hit wonder. You got Tom Kite 92, who was a one-hit wonder, who I think it took 72 major starts for him to get his one and only major championship. So you have guys who have been all-time greats in Tiger, Jack, and Watson, guys who won majors on this golf course. And then you've got guys who are like, who the hell is that? And they become a major figure because they had a great week on this iconic golf course. So I think you kind of have to hedge a little bit if you're betting a U.S. Open or you're going to win. You might want to look at some guys who are 100, 125, 150 to 1. You could get them. You could hit them. I wouldn't say that most weeks about major championships because the cream has just risen to the top last 6-7 years. But right now, with the way I think about the U.S. Open, I think we can get someone we're not thinking about yet. So you can look at someone like he's a top 10 player in the world, but Tommy Fleetwood, or think about Tyrrell Hatton, Paul Casey, guys who are really good ball strikers. That get them around the golf course regardless of the conditions. Like you said, it could be very windy and very cool, so the ball might not fly. You don't have to be great putters, though, because POA is going to limit your ability to make putts. It's going to get browned out. It's going to get worn down. You're going to have several holes that are probably be really hard to putt by the end of the week. I remember that from 2010. Some of the holes, by the time they got to Sunday, were like, guys were just looking at putts like, there's no way this is going in. And so I think that's going to limit the guys who are great putters and short game artists because they're not going to get as much benefit from their game.
No, I agree. That's a big issue. I actually was talking with some guys who went and played a course in Santa Cruz on Thursday, and everyone was like, "Man, those last like 3 or 4 holes are pretty beat up." And it's like, well, yeah, it's 3:30 in the evening. That's how it is out here, and it grows faster, so it's thicker, slows down. You definitely see all those things. And I've heard guys like Dustin Johnson. He's flat out said it. He does very well at Pebble, but he says he almost doesn't want to be in the last groups. He hates being in the last groups because he just go through the torture, like you said. So, yeah, it is very interesting. Jesse, you got anything on the Open, the U.S. Open?
No, I'm excited for it to go back to Pebble. I think it's a great venue. It's a beautiful golf course. I've been by it, never been to it like you. But for me, I had Rose as the winner for this one. I think he gets a major this year, and I don't think it'll be across the pond. I think it'll be over here this year. So, like I said, PGA Championship or U.S. Open for Rose. I think Ryan made some really good points about the POA and the fact that it can kind of negate the putting. So that's something definitely to keep in mind as we, when we get there. It's quite a ways away, but when we get there, that'll be definitely something to look into. So for me, it'll be Rose.
Who do you have winning it, Ryan?
I think Rose is a great call. I like Tommy Fleetwood. I think he gets his major this year, and I think he can do it in this tournament.
Yeah, we are a big pro Tommy Fleetwood podcast. So we're good with that. Jesse, that's Jesse's boy. You mentioned the putting thing. It's interesting. I think course history. I do think Jason Day is a good fit for this course, as frustrating as he's been. But the guy I have winning it, and I'm glad no one can throw anything at me through the computer, is I'm picking Phil Mickelson to come back on the map because he loves playing Pebble Beach. You want a long shot? Phil Mickelson wins the U.S. Open.
And you might even be able to get Phil at a crazy price, depending on.
Yeah, I would think he would be 75 to 80.
That's what I'm thinking.
Depending on how he's playing going into it.
Unless he does something kind of nutty and wins a tournament between now and June, you're going to get him at a good number.
Yeah, I would think so too. And that's not even a bold call, Bubba. That's not even on the bold call section of this.
just wait. It's still coming.
All right. From there, we go to the British Open, or the Open Championship, as it is more commonly referred to, even though Bubba and I still call it the British Open. Obviously, it moves around every year, just like the U.S. Open, just like the PGA Championship, which sucks for betting purposes. And especially this year, you're going to Portrush Golf Club, which has not hosted a Open Championship since 1951. You know anything about this place, Ryan?
So I drove by it when I went to Northern Ireland just before my son was conceived 6 years ago. So, it's an incredible golf course. It's the top 15, 20 golf course in the world. I mean, it's one of the best. They renovated the golf course a little bit. They took out 2 holes and put in 2 new holes. So there are only really 16 holes. People are familiar with it. They've played this course before. It is right on the Irish, the upper end of the Irish Sea. You're going to get a lot of wind. You're going to get a lot of Harry S. Colt design, which is just stunning architecture. But it is your traditional kind of layout. There's a lot more elevation change at Royal Portrush than I think you see in most Open Championship venues. Just the nature of where they are in Northern Ireland. But other than that, it's going to feel a lot like your traditional Open Championship. There are some penal spots where if you make mistakes, you're hitting literally into the ocean. So there are a couple different holes where the greens just die off a cliff. So if you miss, you're really going to miss. But by and large, I think you can look at, again, it all comes down to kind of what the wind's going to look like. But they had the Irish Open there a few years ago, and it really blew on the final couple of days, and it didn't blow on the first couple of days. I think the winning score was in like 2 or 3 under range. So it could be an extremely difficult golf course if the wind blows, but otherwise it's pretty gettable. These guys could go as deep as 15, 20 under par if the wind doesn't blow, but it could be an over par winning score if it does blow all 4 days. So I think it's going to be the hardest major of the year to predict, not only because of the course history, but because of the susceptibility to wind.
Do you think Max Faulkner defends his championship from 1951?
Faulkner alive? I'm pretty sure he's not. But
I doubt it.
Surprise me.
So he shot 71, 70, 74 to finish 3 under. So he shot 74 on Sunday. I can only imagine how difficult that was to, shoot over par and still win the championship. Pretty incredible. Who you got winning, Bubba?
I'm going to a native of the area. I got Rory McIlroy. I think he takes it down. We know a lot of those Euro courses, the greens aren't nearly as fast, and that'll cure a lot of those putter woes of Mr. Rory. He can bomb it with the best of them. If the wind's not too bad, even if it is, it doesn't hurt him as much. I got Rory taking down the 4th major of the year.
Heck yeah. Ryan, you got any thoughts on a winner for this tournament?
I don't know if I got a winner pick, but I like that winner pick. He holds a course record there. I think it was 61 or 60. I think he shot there when he was like 15 years old. So he knows this golf course, loves this golf course. I mean, it's that and Royal County down are kind of the best golf courses in Ireland, if not, certainly Northern Ireland. But I mean, they're also top 10 golf courses in the world. And he knows how to play them. That's a big edge going into a major championship. Not many guys.
While we're on the topic of Rory, what kind of year do you think he has, Ryan? I know he's obviously one of the best talents in the world, probably the best off the tee golfer on the planet, but for whatever reason just can't put it all together. What are your thoughts on his game?
I think he made the right choice in taking out the European Tour component of it for this year. I know that he may regret it down the line. He'll still be a Ryder Cup captain, but I think he made the right choice in trying to focus on the PGA Tour, because when he gets to that point in the year, when the Open's going to be at Port Rush, he would have been bouncing back and forth to go play a couple of Rolex Series events. He would have played the Irish Open, the Scottish Open maybe. He sets himself up for a really busy time of year by trying to be a European Tour member. By focusing on the U.S., he can kind of pick and choose his spots. Doesn't have to worry about those 4 or 5 events he's got to smatter in there. I think that's made the right choice for him. But as you guys know, and we've probably talked about a zillion times with him, is can he roll the rock? Can he putt? I mean, he can do everything else, but it seems like he's at this crossroads in his career where he's got to figure out, can he be the guy that won 4 majors in a fairly short time span, 3 calendar years, or is he going to be the guy that just kind of basically like Jordan flames out because he either gets discouraged or the one part of his game that's not working kind of consumes him. So he's got to figure out how to putt, and it's got to be like Keegan Bradley good, like positive strokes gained. If you can do that, you can bottom line top 10 wherever you feel like it, because you're that good from tee to green. So he's got to figure out, just to be mediocre at putting, he can win a major pretty much at will.
Just don't lose shots on the green. That's
it.
I mean,
when you're literally more putting and taking good opportunities and turning them into bad opportunities just because you can't putt. I know that's got to be incredibly frustrating for him.
Yeah.
But you just kind of got to hunker down and figure out what you got to do, whether that's putting the putter up your left arm like Kuchar, cross-handed, putting on one leg, whatever it takes. Just get the ball in the hole and you can win golf tournaments.
Yeah, I think that, but also too, just staying consistent with something. I feel like a lot of people with their putter, when they putt bad, they want to switch equipment and continue to switch equipment and continue to switch equipment when it's, just as I do. It's all in your head. Like, so much of, especially putting on the greens, is in your head. When I get nervous over a golf ball, I tend to hit it worse than when I'm not. When I'm thinking too much, I hit it worse. When it's just a free stroke, free movement, it's so much easier. I know obviously it's not that easy, not that simple, but either way, I think it starts between the ears for most people anyways. Moving on to some kind of award predictions. And we'll just kind of go down through a list here. We'll start with the player of the year. For me, I think it's going to end up being Bryson DeChambeau. I think he's going to win 3 times this year. I think he's going to win a major. And I'll kind of get into a bold prediction later. I think he's going to win the FedEx Cup too. But who you got, Ryan? That's a player of the year.
I think it's still Brooks. I think it's Brooks's throne for the next few years. He knows how to play well with a spaced out schedule. That's going to become key over the next couple of years. I don't think a lot of guys are going to figure it out this year. I think there are going to be a lot of guys who are top players who tire themselves out too early because they've been playing for August and September the last few years, and they're going to tire themselves out earlier in the year. And that's going to leave someone like Brooks or even DJ, Tiger. I mean, guys who know how to space that out pretty well. They're going to be rested and relaxed by the time they get to the FedEx Cup part of the year, like you talked about earlier. And I think that'll benefit them tremendously. So I love Brooks Koepka to keep his Player of the Year award.
I like it. Bubba?
I like both of those. I have no problem with those, but I'm going with the guy that Jesse and I have been rooting for a long time. He's been so close. I think he has a huge 2019. Tony
Paul
Finau.
Casey?
Tony Finau, Player of the Year. We love Paul Casey too, but Tony Finau, Player of the Year. Like, eventually, those top fives are going to be turned into the winner's circle. So I got Finau taking it out. Let's go Rookie of the Year. We've already seen Cam Champ absolutely torch things. I think Cam Champ's the easy choice for this. If not, I think Sungjae Im's a very good one as well. Ryan, what do you like for Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, those are my two guys I'm looking at. I mean, Cameron Champ's probably going to win 2 more times just by accident on lower level tournaments. And then you got Sungjae Im, who made the trek over from Korea last year, just absolutely blitzed the web.com tour. I know that, again, that's different golf, different setup, all that stuff. But to come out the gate the safe way and nearly win the thing, and it didn't even look like he had his best stuff that week, to be truthful. I think he's going to definitely win at least once. I could see him winning twice too. So I think we got a 2-man showdown already before we even get to 2019.
Pretty crazy. What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I think it's between those two for sure. I mean, it's hard to see Cam or doesn't already have it locked down with the win already. I mean, obviously, I think M could win and challenge him, but it's hard to look past.
I'm curious
Cameron
if he'll play well enough to make the President's Cup team, because I think that could be a big motivator for those guys.
Oh, for him, for him to make the President's Cup, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
there's a lot of good youngsters out there, so it'll be fun to see how that all plays out.
So then moving on to not really an award, but who would you consider like the biggest surprise this year? I guess kind of a sleeper, a guy coming in 2019. Who would you consider your biggest surprise of the year, Ryan?
In one sense, it's got to be Bryson, right? I mean, I kind of have a kind of predilection against him, I guess, because I thought he was a lunatic. But he's a lunatic who's winning, and he believes absolutely in what he's doing. And it's getting better. It's not like he's getting worse or he's barely winning. I mean, he's doing the things you need to do close out golf tournaments, and that's a scary thing. So I think for him, I mean, the last 14 months for him have been unbelievable. I don't know if they'll continue for another 14 months, but that in that sense, I think he's my biggest surprise.
I'm with you. Bubba?
And mine, it's like, again, it's kind of like Bryson, where we already know he's really, really good, but I think it's Tommy Fleetwood taking that next step to, like, we saw how Francesco went all the way up to the top 5 this year. I think we see Fleetwood make that step where he actually wins a PGA Tour event. He actually, maybe wins a couple. Like, we see him really compete and finish near the top there. It's going to be hard to pass up Brooks and those guys, but I think Tommy Fleetwood makes a big run to move up the ladder this year.
I'm with you. I think I'm going to go kind of deep here, but I pinned Hao Tong Lee as my surprise this year, and it kind of gets into my bold predictions, but I think he plays well at some majors this year, gets some top 10s. I would love to see him over playing full-time on the PGA Tour. He's obviously playing on the Euro Tour at this point, but he's got such talent, and he's kind of sketchy from time to time, but he's the guy who I pinned as my biggest surprise. And then from there, Bubba, you want to take the bold predictions?
Yeah, let's do our bold predictions. We'll each give one, and then we'll go around and do it 3 times here. Be as crazy as you want, but Ryan, give us your first bold prediction on the season.
Man, you already said Phil Mickelson's going to win, so that's kind of going to take away one of the ones I was thinking about, that Phil Mickelson's going to win. I wasn't willing to give him a major, but I think he will win a PGA Tour event this year, and I know that might. For a guy that hasn't won in 5 years and raked the putt at the U.S. Open, that seems kind of crazy to me. I think he's going to win one, but I'll throw it out this way, the other way. Jordan Spieth is not going to win on the PGA Tour in 2019. I think he's on the downtrend already at 25, and I just don't think he's got the game to go up from here.
Let's take this Jordan Spieth one step farther. Does he qualify for the final round of the FedEx title this year like he didn't this year?
I don't think he does. I don't think he's playing well enough. I don't think he's good enough putting wise. That's the one thing he's most lost on. Is the one thing that defined his identity. Unless he figures it out, and he could. And the strokes game were better at the tail end of the year on putting, but not where they were. So I don't think he qualifies.
Over under 7.5 missed cuts for Jordan Spieth this year.
Whoa. I got to go under that. I mean, he knows how to cash checks. If nothing else, he knows how to cash checks. He doesn't miss a whole lot of cuts. I mean, I was looking at some cuts miss numbers for our top 100 ranking I did, and Spieth just finds a way to get to the weekend almost better than anybody of his age, at least.
Well, that's the whole DraftKings thing. He's always priced high, but he'd make the cut, but he wouldn't get you anywhere. It was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Jesse, what's your first bold prediction?
So I've kind of talked about these two, or the first one already anyways, but I got Hao Tong Lee top 10ing in 2 majors this year.
I like it. All right, my first one is Jon Rahm will win 2 PGA Tour events this year.
Ooh.
2. And people have listened to the show long enough to know how much of a mental midget I think he is. But I respect the game, and I know it was a small field of the hero, and you take that with a grain of salt. I still was rather impressed by the way he kept it together and got through 72 holes in that little event. So
yeah, I mean
I think Rahm gets it.
Super strong field, obviously, too.
Yeah, that's why I learned. I got a lot out of that one watching him. I'm like, okay, I'll respect it a little bit. I'm ready for the blow up still, but I think Rahm comes through this year.
I'm kind of pissed that the PGA Tour has Tiger versus Phil as an official event on their schedule this year.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. Ryan, what's your second bold prediction?
I want to say something positive about Ricky Fowler, but
I crossed off. I said Ricky doesn't win again, but I crossed that one off.
I really want to say something positive about Ricky Fowler, but it's just not there. I just don't think it's there. I'm going to say Jason Day wins the Players.
I like it.
He doesn't play often enough that I think he can get into a groove for a major championship. I just feel like he's kind of at that point in his career where the back issues are too iffy for him to do it that much. But he can win on that golf course pretty much at will, and he loves his courses. So I like Jason Day to win the Players.
I like it.
What's your second one, Jesse?
Bryson DeChambeau wins the FedEx Cup.
Okay, he actually finishes it this time. Good to hear. Yep. Okay, this one, again, glad no one can throw anything at me because it's been quite a long streak for this man. But DJ goes winless in 2019.
I thought about that exact same thing, but man, it's just so difficult.
It's hard, I know, because he'll go play
RBC
or some garbage tournament and just smoke the field.
I'm with you, but
I think it's coming to an end.
I don't know. You got any takes on DJ there, Ryan?
I just feel like he's so long and so mumuch better than most guys that he only has to beat really like 10 people any one week that he wins a tournament. Like 144 man field, he's got probably about 120 of them beat before he shows up. So he doesn't have to beat that many people to win. So, but just by happenstance, he's going to win a tournament. It seems like every year. But I mean, that he's approaching that kind of record territory of Jack and Arnie in terms of 17 straight seasons with a win. He's getting there. He's getting up there. Yeah. So I'm very curious if he cares. Like, does he even know? Probably doesn't. But I feel like he can just kind of back into a tournament because he's just that good.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But like, I just don't know what's like. Is the end of the year for him was just absolutely atrocious. And I'm curious to see if he's able to turn it back on. It seems like he can. It seems like a lot of times personal stuff, at least that's my own hypothesis. Yeah. Personal stuff gets in his head and it kind of hinders him. But I mean, I'm a fan of DJ, but he was frustrating to watch at the end of the year last year. You've done yours. Last bold prediction, Ryan.
I'm gonna say Daniel Berger wins again.
Ooh, I like that.
He took a big step back this year, and I think it's because he's just not a good tough course player. It's just not his DNA. He wants to win at 20 under, not 8 under, and there just weren't that many of those last year. But I think he's going to mature as a player and figure out how to win those kind of tournaments where you can't take it deep and just shoot 64 each day.
I like it. What's your last one, Jesse?
So this is bold, but Tiger Woods is in the final group of every major on Sunday this year. And doesn't win one.
CBS, NBC, they'd all be flocking for that right now.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's obviously some wishful thinking, but That'd be
Not
awesome.
that crazy.
Not the way he played this year.
The way he
All right. Since I picked him to be my player of the year, I got Tony Finau winning at least 3 tournaments this year. He hasn't won one before. I got at least 3 this year.
If he could get one, I would be so happy.
Yep, we all would, Jesse. We all would.
We wouldn't have to say it open, and it would be huge.
We wouldn't have to say it every podcast, Jesse. Like, this is the week Tony Finau's gonna come through, and he's top 5. He's top 5s over and over again.
He's such a DraftKings monster, though. I mean, like, he's just like I tried last year to fade him because he's 60% owned. Like, you got to fade some people, and not this year. It's not happening. I've already made so he's definitely gonna have a terrible year since I've already said that. I'm sorry, Bubba. That last one's not coming true.
I appreciate it. All right, that'll wrap us up for our 2019 season preview. There's so many other things we could have talked about, as there's a lot that goes on in the PGA Tour season. But Ryan, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you again and what you got coming up?
Sure, you can find us at GolfNewsNet.com. We do weekly picks. We got our Plus members picks for DraftKings specialty games and things like that. We got our top 100 PGA Tour ranking out now as well for our GNM Plus members. And then always, you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Ballengee. Always happy to talk, take questions, give picks, bad picks, good picks. But always happy to talk on Twitter.
Like I tell Bubba all the time, man, we're in like the business of predicting the hardest sport in the world.
It is.
It's fun, but it's difficult.
Golf is by far the hardest sport to predict, to bet. It just is. And but it makes it exciting when you hit.
It does, for sure.
Yeah, I learned a lot this year playing my first 2-day tournament, not like a scramble or anything, 2-day your own tournament. I was like, you know how hard it is to play good 2 days in a row? These guys got to do it 4 days in a row. Like, that is really, really difficult.
I played today or this year for the first time in a long, long time, and a real 4-day tournament. And by the time you're at the 3rd day, you're like, "Are we done? Can I go home?" And then you had to rally. It's really hard to do. I have a tremendous amount of respect for what the PGA Tour or any touring professional does week to week. It's really difficult.
Imagine doing that, then doing media, and then having to entertain your family, and probably a lot of them, I'd say, drink quite a bit. So, I mean, it's rough.
Think about the Monday qualifiers. Those guys that play all freaking week. Like, it just gets the rabbit hole we can go down right now is pretty good. But yeah. But again, Ryan, thanks for joining us. Everybody go check them out on Twitter, GolfNewsNet, all that good stuff they have going on there. We'll be back with you guys to kick off the season in Hawaii. We're taking a couple weeks off, enjoy the holidays. But this is another episode of the Always Pressing PGA DFS podcast. Thanks for listening. Catch you guys later.